I want to bring Jonathan Alter in now. He's at Obama headquarters in Chicago, which is a bit of pandemonium, we understand. Jonathan Alter, in terms of what the president needed to do tonight and those adorable headphones and what the president was able to accomplish tonight, what's your perspective on this speech?
Well, you know, there's been a lot of talk in this campaign, Rachel, about American exceptionalism. It was a Republican talking point, and he actually addressed that tonight head on. He said, what makes us exceptional are what binds us together as a people. And that includes not just rights, which has been a big part of the Democratic Party agenda over the last decades, but responsibilities. He used that word, responsibilities. And I think what he was talking about there was our responsibilities to each other, what we owe each other. And that's what the progressivism of the 20th century was about. From Theodore Roosevelt to Woodrow Wilson to Franklin Roosevelt, Dwight Eisenhower bought into this, the idea of a social contract that we owe each other something and we have responsibility for one another. And that idea has atrophied in the last 30 years. And when Barack Obama talks about changing the trajectory of American politics the way Ronald Reagan did, what he means is to get back to that 20th century trajectory of us caring about each other once again, and I thought he conveyed that tonight.
The way that he defined it in terms of the things that we all want, even if we're seeking different political means of getting there, right. We all want great teachers for our kids. We all want America to be respected as well as strong. We all want we want safety, and even though we're aiming at it from different directions, we will have to turn to one another in order to get there. It is a transformational type of message, yes?
It is transformational. It is ultimately unifying. And I think that he recognizes that for all the noise, most people do want a lot of the same things. We want to educate our kids. We want to prepare them to compete internationally in a fairly brutal, competitive global economy. And we want to focus on the middle class, not just allowing the people who've already been extremely successful to fend for themselves and get even more successful. If they do, that's great, but we can't structure our whole system around the top. And so was there a class populist message to this campaign? Absolutely. And it wasn't even at the subtext level. It was right up there, up front. The middle class got a real workout in this campaign. We haven't actually talked in as explicit terms about the middle class in any campaign really since the middle of the 20th century.
Yeah, and a pretty resounding verdict on that tone
Absolutely.
of the campaign. Jonathan Alter, thank you very much, John. I appreciate it.
I may be the only one here that's not really satisfied with that speech, and it's because not just the failure to recognize openly the incredible, I guess because I was with Bill Clinton yesterday and seeing how hard he worked. He's lost his voice fighting for this guy. But the Democratic Party wasn't really giving any attention tonight. The president's the leader of the Democratic Party. Whatever forging of relationship he's going to do with the other side, he's going to start with unity. He's got to put together, they did very well, these Senate candidates, because they ran on the same platform, basically. As everybody pointed out tonight, stronger regulation of Wall Street, redress of inequality in income through tax policy, real fighting for that stuff. Dealing with industrial policy, we really go in and work for a company like the auto industry and save it. You don't sit around and watch it. You don't talk about bankruptcy. There's real policy aggressiveness here that's come about over the last several years with the Democratic Party at the front of it. And I didn't sense that he acted as a party leader or even as a leader of a faction. It was him again alone. I tell you, go back to it. He did do a couple things that were good. He called on the people to get participatory, not just an election. I thought it was very good. He did talk about the fact that American exceptionalism is certainly my definition. I think it's all of our definition. It's not that we have any rights in the world. This is a country that's proven it can do one thing: create opportunity for a lot of people to come from a lot of places. You know, not have a class system. Yeah. At least as much as anywhere else. So I thought he had some elements to it, but I don't think he pulled it together as a political leader. Say Democratic Party, which he never says. He is the leader of a political party, and he has to bring that party to the table, and as you pointed out, Ed, with power. If they have more Senate seats, if they've got a winning hand, if they've won this election electorally and perhaps in terms of popular vote, they go to the table and say, look, we'll give you some stuff to get you aboard, but we're coming with our program. Well, and I think that's something that he's going to have to do, where we're going to be stuck with this fiscal cliff again, with the dick in Iran, about debt ceilings again, all these stupid things to get him involved with weakness.
Well, we've seen the left go after President Obama. They were really furious that universal health care wasn't on the table, and he is going to have to step up and protect the big three and get more money out of the wealthiest Americans. That's going to be the first fight up there. Of course, the Democrats.
No avoiding it.
I don't know that tonight was the night for him to draw that line in the sand. I think he's got to do that. I'm one of the first that would say that and would be on that. But I think if he had come out after Mitt Romney taking the high road and went partisan tonight, he would have been roundly criticized.
I don't think it's partisan to point out the victories.
I'm not talking about point out the victories. I'm talking about saying the 3 R's on the table or what couldn't be done. I think tonight he was trying to put back in focus what made him president. He went to the high road, and I think that he was being as gracious to Romney as Romney appeared to be to him. And let's not forget, Chris, he was gracious to Clinton. Don't act like Clinton didn't have a lot of rancor and divisiveness and we had to get over in the primary 4 years ago. So the same Barack Obama that was gracious to Mitt Romney tonight was gracious to Bill Clinton 4 years ago when a lot of us was angry at him for forgiving Bill Clinton. He's the same guy, and I think that it will unwind itself, and all of us will expect him to be strong.
How about congratulating the other Democrats who won tonight?
I think he should.
That would have been a good start. Why wouldn't he do that?
I'm totally with Al on this, and here's why. I think the opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is indifference. And by talking about himself tonight as the leader of the country, he relegated the Republican Party to a rump party that means nothing in politics. There's no reason for him to address Republicans losing or winning anything. Republicans had the table run on them tonight. He didn't discuss them. Mitt Romney, you can afford to be as nice. He could have gone on about Mitt Romney for an hour if he wanted. Mitt Romney will never run for office again. Eric Fernstrom will never run a campaign again. None of these things are ever going to happen again. And the Republican Party has been reduced to the party that could not defeat this president after a financial crisis-induced Great Depression that the country still has not recovered from. And the Republican Party now is not actually worthy of having anything lorded over.
I never mentioned the Republican Party. I said I think he should speak about his own party. I think he should rally them. He should say, we won tonight. He should talk about them. You know, the biggest problem with this presidency has been the lack of Confederates, of other allies and surrogates. He keeps sending his staff people out to talk on television. He's got to build a big party to get something done. You don't do it by yourself. These big things that are still in front of us, immigration reform and debt problems and all this stuff.
He got out there and he stomped on Tommy Thompson for losing in Wisconsin. That's going to make him look smaller. Well, if he's going to go out and congratulate, I want to congratulate Tammy Baldwin for winning in Wisconsin.
Rach, you congratulate your fellows, you support your Confederates, you unite your party, and then you go into negotiations with the other party. That could have been done tonight.
I think that's what you do in your next speech after tonight.
Well, tonight he's got the country's attention. It's been a problem. It's been a problem with the president. I know he won tonight. It's fabulous he won tonight. I can't believe how great it was with this knockout tonight. But I would like to see a united leadership here, not just a solo act.
I think that's Wednesday. I think tonight was Tuesday.
Well, I keep waiting for Wednesday. I've been waiting for 4 years.
All right, I want to also bring in Michael Steele and Gene Robinson, who've been very patient while we worked out our issues here on set. Michael Steele and Gene Robinson. Gene, let me ask you first, because we were talking to you right when the president came out, in terms of what you were looking for and what you heard tonight.
You know, I heard a president who, in affect, seemed enormously relieved to me. He seemed relieved to have gotten past this, to have not disappointed people by failing to win a second term. I thought he seemed relieved and somewhat liberated. By the same token, I guess I'm on the opposite side from Chris in terms of whether he should have been more Democratic Party centric. You know, the fact is the other guy got 53 million votes, and he got 54 something million votes. I mean, that's a lot of. He's got a lot of persuading to do as he moves forward. And yes, you have to do that from a position of power. There were times during the first term when he did it from a position of weakness, and that didn't work out as well as it might have. But in fact, he is going to have to persuade people, not just the officials he's going to have to work with, but he's going to have to persuade a lot of the public to rally around him and to not oppose him with the sort of intractable opposition that we've seen over the last little while. That wasn't imaginary. It happened, and it's not going to all evaporate tomorrow.
Michael Steele, when you were listening to this speech as a Republican, did you hear this president talking to you and talking about the country in a way that was something other than alienating, something that was welcoming and conciliatory? How did you hear it?
I did hear that, Rachel, and I was struck by the last sentence of the paragraph that was referenced a little bit earlier, I believe, by Lawrence, when the president was talking about, the campaign has been fought, it's over. You have elected us now to get beyond the partisanship, beyond the politics. You've elected us to focus on your job, not our jobs. That's going to be his test. And to Chris's point, and maybe it's because we're both really down in the dirt political animals, I get what Chris is saying. I think there is an element there of kind of pulling those loose ends together a bit, not in the big sense of embracing the party and high-fiving all the other victors, but just saying in a very subtle way that, we know we still have to deal with some of this politics, and the way we begin to do that is recognize that, we've got a united team here among Democrats now to go and sit down with Mitch McConnell and with John Boehner and the Republican leadership to get the nation's business done. So I think there's an opportunity the president has presented. The test is going to be whether or not, once you get past all the kumbaya, feel good, high five, thanks, congratulations, and we get into this interregnum between the election and the inauguration, that the Congress, when it comes back, that we see indeed in action that the president, even if he runs into a wall from Republicans, rises above that. Not step back from it as he did over the last 4 years, but really lean into it, lean forward into it and say, you know what, guys, we're not doing it this way any longer. The American people want us to do it differently, whether you like it or not. That's going to be an interesting test. And I think to that political point, Chris has made a very good point there.
Chris, do you feel like you're being persuaded at all, or do you feel like you're being...
No. I really do believe that it takes more than one person. I think what's been missing in the last 4 years is a sense of collegiality and working together and a lot of different voices. When we turn on Sunday television, for example, we look for the cabinet members. We don't see them. We see staffers from Chicago. And I keep waiting. Where are these allies? It's a big country. It's 350 million people. We should be represented by a big group of people, with a lot of people out there publicly discussing these things, coming together as major forces. And I think the reason we've been stuck in the mud on every single issue, we kick the can down the road, is because we don't have strong political alliances and confederacies of people working together and then meeting across the table with strength and coming together and forging deals. We're doing a lot of good speeches. And by the way, I'll say it again for the 100th time in the last couple of weeks. This president didn't get reelected because of his rhetoric. This time, as opposed to last time, he got elected because of policies. He had guts to stick his neck in and do things by either executive order or in Congress. Now, look, he had to pull the Congress together to get health care. He had to pull the Congress together to get the stimulus package. They all worked together and stuck their necks out. A lot of them lost their seats over this. You got to point that out. This is a political party sticking its neck out. And if you go through all the things he did on the DREAM Act by executive order, these are all good things, but they're actions. They're not good speeches.
I'm sorry to have to interrupt you.
No,
this is the thing for which I will interrupt you, which is a call. Good. In the state of Virginia, NBC News projects that the winner is President Obama. Wow. Also, in the state of Alaska, NBC News will project that the winner is Mitt Romney. Alaska, Mitt Romney, but in Virginia, the winner, President Obama. That was too close to call for the entire night. But Virginia now also going to the president. We still have outstanding races in Nevada and Florida. Those races have not been called in terms of the presidency. I'm stunned by that Virginia result. I mean, I knew that we knew it was close, and I knew that Chuck told us it was sort of coming.
Florida's still possible.
Yeah. This has ended up being this ended up, you know who won the election tonight? Nate Silver. All those people telling him, oh, it's crazy that you're saying it's not going to be this close. It's not going to be close. How crazy? Everybody can see how close it's going to be. It ended up not being close.
Did you see Jim Cramer's predictions? Through the roof. He may well beat those standards tonight.
Yeah, this is incredible stuff. All right, one of the other things that's happened tonight is that it has actually been a very, very big night for women. We've got some amazing numbers, actually, out of the Senate, even with a few Senate races still yet to be called, historic numbers out of the Senate. And also, one particular state appears to be going Amazon, for lack of a better term. We'll have those details for you ahead when we come back. MSNBC's live coverage of the 2012 presidential race, presidential election night continues. Stay with us.